You ready?
Let's do an intro. This is Charlie. You go by Charlie Rocket now, right?
Yeah.
Unbelievable story. Like from when I came across your shit, I was almost like laughing out loud at your story. How like, topsy turvy all over the place. You've really made so many pivots and gone through so much shit. It's like it parlays perfectly into what I'm trying to say. The name of this podcast is You Never Know.
That's right.
And it's like your story is that,
Thank you, bro.
10x. So I want to just, obviously, Charlie Rocket, where are you from originally?
Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta, Georgia, born and raised.
Absolutely.
And that's where you really made your first imprint on, that's where CEO Charlie was the original name, but it was Street Execs, correct?
That was the management company.
Yeah, so the way this goes is like, I want to let you guide it. I want you to tell me kind of like you could walk at whatever pace you want.
Absolutely.
Give a nutshell of like even just whatever your beginning, your upbringing, and then we can kind of just I'll interject throughout, but like just kind of tell your story, and then we'll go from there.
Mike, like I thought about this the other day. I was riding in the car, and like I do this little thing where I say like I'm on a winning streak. Because like I've experienced like some really dark times, and I still fight it to this day, like negative energy or negative thought processes.
We all do.
And I thought back to when I was like in Chamblee High School. Like I grew up, my dad was a blues musician and like a carpenter. My mom sold vacuum cleaners. My grandfather sold vacuum cleaners. My dad sold vacuum cleaners. I sold vacuum cleaners. Like we shopped at the thrift store because we couldn't afford nice stuff. Now I shop at thrift stores because I think it's fresh. But it's like, I was thinking back to 10th grade in high school, like sitting in literature class. And I saw this like little vision of like Big Charlie, me today, talking to little Charlie in high school. And it was like my mind was blown because sometimes we don't realize where we're at. And he said to Lil Charlie, he was like, Lil Charlie, man, one day you're going to be working with Titty Boy. And like, I'm like, hold on, Titty Boy, who's like signed to Ludacris? I listen to Luda's albums and I always hear those Titty Boy verses. Like, yeah, you're going to work with him. You're going to work with Kanye West too. It was like, at the time, like Through the Wire was out. And it was like, man, like what? Like, I'm going to work with Kanye too. And like, oh yeah, Lil Wayne, you're going to work with him too. Like, what are you talking about? And oh yeah, you're going to like be a Nike athlete as well. I'm like, how am I going to do that? I've been overweight my whole life. And it's just like looking at this life.
Not to stop you. So this is in high school.
Like this was my vision that I saw the other day of me today telling 10th grade me that this was going to be my life. It's really the you never know concept.
To a T.
Like, how am I going to do any of this? Like I'm in 10th grade. How am I going to be in a commercial with LeBron and Serena and win Emmys and Grammys and work with my favorite artists? And it's just like, you just never know what's possible. And I've never been like the smartest person. And maybe that's my gift of actually like turning my brain off of too much logic and reason is the fact I'm not the smartest, but if my brain works a little bit less and that allows my heart to work a little bit more, my heart knows possibilities and dreams. Like if I were to ask you, like, follow your heart, like that's instinctive to us. We don't really say follow your brain, but where are we spending all of our time? In our brain. But that's not what, our brain is a series of historical events. It's literally not, it knows nothing about things that haven't been done yet.
Right.
It only knows what has already been done.
Right.
And so I guess I've just had a gift in my life of letting my heart drive. And the brain is in the passenger seat saying, okay, I trust where you're going. Let me help you.
The brain's logistics. They'll help you, once the heart establishes the path, the brain can work out the actual logistics of how to get there, I guess. But yeah, it's, bro, like, from just what I saw so far, and we'll go through step by step your story. It's the first thing that jumped out to me is just like and it's one of those things that's kind of intangible. You can't be taught. I guess it can be taught over time, I guess, with the right input, but that ability to not overthink and not let reality Like I think that's what happens to a lot of people in society in general, especially with coming, you know, if you're born into regular families and that live very realistically. You know I did. It sounds like you did too.
Yeah.
You know, it's a gift to even be able to approach things, you know, from that stand, like where you're coming from, you know what I mean? And I think a lot of people in general in society don't really get to access that or even ever feel that way,
Yeah.
like the heart drive, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? There isn't really anything that's too unrealistic, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's
And
right.
your story is the perfect example. I've heard you articulate it a bunch, but I want you to do so. So just as far as your story now, you were in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Up to what age? When did something happen where when did the music thing, where was your first breakthrough there?
I lived across the street from the high school, and I went to a school where it was probably like maybe 60% black,
Right.
maybe 20% Hispanic, and maybe 20% white. And I liked basketball. Like my dream as a kid was to be an athlete.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to be you. Like
Yeah.
I wanted to be an
feel
athlete,
you.
right?
Yeah.
So I was always overweight and chubby. So that wasn't adding up. And I'm looking at my life, well, I need something to be good at. You know, when you get to a certain age, you
Yeah.
start looking around and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
how do you get a girl?
Right.
Like, okay, these guys play football, these guys dance, these guys are funny. What can I do? Because even though my dream is athletics, and I didn't choose that, it was just in me. It's kind of like the calculator app on the iPhone. You didn't download it. It was just already there. And I believe that's what our dreams are.
Yeah.
Our dreams are just in us, but I believe our dreams are given to us because that's a real glimpse into the future, even if it seems completely unreasonable. Like me, overweight, but I wanted to be an athlete. I didn't find out till later on the reason
Yep.
why. So I buried that dream. Great thing and terrible thing. And I was like, all right, I want to become a businessman. I've always had this kind of like gift of seeing around the corner culturally. Like I'm 31. So at the time, being a gangster was cool.
Yep.
Being a businessman is not cool like it is today.
Right.
Like entrepreneurs are rock stars today.
know.
But I thought back then being an entrepreneur was going to be cool. And I was like, I want to be this. I'm going to create like an identity for myself and I'm going to own the identity. That's going to be my superhero name. I've always kind of like, I mean, rappers do it. They give themselves names.
Yeah.
You know, so I was like, I'm going to give myself a whole new name. Here's CEO Charlie. I put on my suit, my briefcase. I'm going to school and I'm telling everybody my dream. And you know what the root word of the term abracadabra means, right? So in Hebrew, it means, as I speak, I create. And I didn't realize I was doing this my whole life. But like, I believe it's like little devil talk, like when they say like, oh, don't tell anybody, you're gonna jinx it. I'm the opposite. If I want something, I'm telling everybody.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not keeping that to myself
Yep.
because as I speak, I create. So I'm
Right.
telling everybody I'm going to be a businessman. And so I'm looking at culture like, okay, what's next? And I see all my friends start making music. And there were like in Atlanta, there were all these little rap gangs. Like we didn't have like Bloods and Crips. We had rap gangs. And I'm looking at these kids in school with their like jackets on with the embroidery of their rap gang. And I'm like, this is the future. This right here is the future. This hip hop
Weren't
thing.
wrong.
So I told my mom, I was like, Ma, like, can I put a studio in my bedroom? And she was like, I don't know about this like hip hop stuff, but she was always pretty open minded. And I put the little sales tactics on her and convince her. So you know, she taught me sales tactics by selling vacuum cleaners. So
Yeah.
I put it right back on her. And I said, Ma, I think hip hop's gonna be the biggest genre in the world. And if you rewind 20 years ago or even 10 years ago, or you even rewind 5 years ago, you ask any individual in America, could hip hop be the biggest genre in the world? They'd be like, absolutely not. It's too risky, too much danger,
Yep.
too much drugs.
Yep.
It can never be bigger than pop music.
Right.
We're talking about Justin Bieber. We're talking about Mariah Carey. We're talking about these massive artists, Ariana Grande.
And very market friendly.
Market friendly.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to break down some stats for you real quick. In history of music, the biggest genre in the world that ever existed was pop music. Duh. You know, it's pop music.
Popular.
49% market share. 2019, hip hop, almost 70% market share.
Crazy.
You take All the other genres, country, pop, rock, bluegrass, you add them all up together, gospel, it doesn't matter. Add them all up together, they don't come up to the knee of what hip hop is today. It's not just winning by a little bit. It's winning by the biggest margin anybody has ever seen, and it just happens to be the one genre that nobody thought could ever do it. So if you're listening to this right now, you could be the most doubted person ever. You could have 1,000. You could be batting 0. You've never gotten a hit ever, and then you come out and win MVP the next year. It's possible.
It's true.
And that's what hip hop is. And
Sure.
I was able to see that as a kid. My mom let me put the recording studio in my bedroom. And then boom, next thing you know, there's like 50 people on one song. Songs would be 40 minutes long. Yeah. Everybody's got a verse. And I was like, all right, I'm going to build a website. You know, me, CEO Charlie, trying to figure out how to capitalize on all this.
Right.
And so I built a website, a hip hop website called spityourgame.com. And in Atlanta, the dance movement was going crazy, especially with the kids. Everybody had a lean with it song and a this and that song. So I built this website. I got a camera for Christmas. I started filming videos, interviews. I was the first person in Atlanta who had the plug to WorldStar. Because back a few years before, I had this massive shoe website called kicksonfire.com. Today, it's the biggest shoe website in the world.
Wow.
So I started that with my business partner, CEO Khan, who lived in Brooklyn, New York. We started Spit Your Game together. We started Kicks on Fire and Fashion on Fire. So we used to advertise our shoes on WorldStar before it was even a video site. It used to be a mixtape site. And then it became like a porn website, and then it became a video website. So like the Kim Kardashian sex tape is what actually blew up WorldStar.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Because they were like dabbling in the porn, and then they copied this New York blog called On Smash. It used to be the biggest like hip hop blog, and they copied the template, and that's what WorldStar still is today. And it blew up, and so I had the plug to them because I used to run banner ads. Then next thing you know, I get a phone call. Well, at the time, I'm in college. I graduated from high school. My mom wanted me to like get a college degree. Right. I wasn't making money. I had a little popping website, but I was actually losing money because the servers were like, there was this thing called cluster servers back in the day before there's Amazon Prime services. Right. So we got all these servers. I'm losing money. I'm in college trying to make this pop, and my phone rings. I get a call from a 310 number. And being from Atlanta, you get Beverly Hills calling you. That's a big deal. I'm like, what could this be? Beverly Hills has never called me before. And I answer, and it was a deep voice. His name was, hello, this is Brian Washington with Interscope Records. And I said, how you doing, Mr. Washington? What's going on? He said, is this Charlie Jabley? I said, yes, it is. He said, we just signed a new artist, and he requested that you go on tour with him and be his cameraman. He's a big fan of your work. And this artist was Soulja Boy. And Soulja Boy was an outsider to the Atlanta dance movement. He was actually in Batesville, Mississippi, which for anybody listening, one of my favorite things to say, and because I get inspired by hip hop artists all the time, because I always have this term that makes me feel very inspired when I hear an artist's story. And I always say to myself, anybody can get it. Anybody. Soulja Boy was in Batesville, Mississippi. We're talking about population like 16,000. So when people are from small towns and they're like, well, I don't have the resources to pop. I mean, you could look at Soulja Boy, Batesville. You could look at Ray Sherman. We're talking about Tupelo.
Yeah.
We're talking about Tupelo, Mississippi.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking about the smallest towns in America, some of the biggest artists. So everything is possible. Anybody can get it. Right. So here we got Interscope Records on my line, and I was like, Mr. Washington, I'm there. Boom. Like, I'm there. Done. But then I realized I got to like ask my mom if I could drop out of school. So I said, Mr. Washington, let me call you back. And like, I got to ask my mom if I could drop out of school and go on tour. So I head home. Boom, Ma, hey, we got to put the sales tactics on her. Right. Ma, I just got a call. This hip hop thing is actually taking off. A rapper wants me to go on tour with him. And my mom was thinking, oh, Lord, my sweet little baby.
Yeah.
Like, you see how
The
I
rap
look.
tour.
I look like mama's little baby, you know? She's like, oh, drugs, sex, the hip hop, groupies. And I was like, no, Ma, this is...
Well, maybe a little, Mom. But
I said, this is entrepreneurship.
yeah.
And she thought about it. She was like, you know what? When a door opens, you got to walk through it. She gave me her blessings. I called Mr. Washington back. Next thing you know, I'm on the road with Soulja Boy. And I was the cameraman, so I was able to get into every door. I knew my purpose in life was not being a cameraman. And I always think it's so dangerous when like these motivational speaker guys and everybody is like, find your purpose and you'll never work again. I'm like, but bro, like, most people don't know their purpose, so now you're paralyzing them because now they think it's bad if they're not doing their purpose.
Right.
Like me being a cameraman was not my purpose. I knew I was a king, but I had to do this like servantry work.
Right.
But I took it with pride. I'm like, no, like I'm a cameraman, but I'm in every door. So I get to soak up the game. I get everybody's phone number. I get to build. I get to make little extra videos for each person I'm interacting with just to provide them value, just so I can know who they are. Because one day I'm going to need this relationship in, you know, Jackson, Mississippi at WRBJ 97.7. I'm going to need this relationship. So I built and cultivated each relationship.
That's a huge takeaway from like for anybody. That just understanding that even if the circumstances of where you are isn't your ideal circumstance,
Come on, man.
if you can bring if you can, one, just looking at the positives of the situations, like you just said, the access that you had, and then bringing service to people, going that extra mile early in the process, and then it comes back full circle. It's like anywhere you are in life, you could take that and apply it.
It's the cheat code to being undefeated.
Right.
Because what might look like an L, it's not an L. Like we could look at it in so many different ways. I could find W's. Like I could be like, oh, I took an L. Man, I'm like, nah, I got a W. Like I'm like that delusionally optimistic.
Yeah.
Like the man wasn't even paying me hardly.
Yeah,
Like-
no, I know the game.
Like it was like, oh no, this is an opportunity for you. And I'm like, that's cool. I'll take that $100.
Right.
And I'll like people didn't know at the time, but I had no money. And there was a time where like they didn't pay me on time and I didn't eat for 3 days and I'm dealing with all this extra like BS, but like I'm still making the best out of it.
Right.
But in all honesty, like this time of my life, I was being of servitude, but I didn't have it all figured out.
Right.
I was still like, I was caught up. I was caught up in the hip hop stuff. Like Soulja Boy gave me this diamond chain, and I'm a cameraman, and I'm trying to act like I'm a celebrity. Like because in Atlanta, I kind of was like CEO Charlie was like a big deal, but I'm like caught up, and I'm not being the right type of servant to who hired me, and I ended up getting fired. So, I mean, it was October 4th, 2007, last day of the tour in Atlanta, and they didn't even tell me I was fired. Like, Soulja Boy asked me for my diamond chain back, and I know the next...
Give me the chain.
He was out, and it felt weird taking it off because, like, I loved it so much.
Yeah.
And even though it was, like, mall jewelry, like, it was, like, not real at all.
Right.
But I felt like I was somebody.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm going to get it cleaned. And I was like, all right, cool. And I know the next day we were supposed to go to Jimmy Kimmel. Album just came out. We were supposed to fly to Jimmy Kimmel in the morning, but I didn't get the itinerary. I'm like, what? Nobody answered my phone.
Right.
Like, nobody. I'm calling everybody. I know we're supposed to go to the airport. Like, we got to go to L.A. And so I go to the airport. And I'm there, and it was like, dang. Like, about 3 hours passed, and I realized I think I'm fired. Like, this hurts. I get on the MARTA train back to my mom's house. I was like, Mom, I think I got to move back in. I think I'm fired. She said, this doggone hip-hop thing. I said, nah, it's all going to be all right.
How long was the time frame that you were with him? When you dropped out of school and then back to where you were?
It was like 9 months. It was 9 months. It went from the country towns of, I remember the very first show on the tour. The very first show, we hopped in a minivan, like a Dodge, like caravan.
Yep.
Like, we weren't even, like, in buses. Like, we didn't even have tinted windows.
Been there, baby.
And it's like we pull up to this club in Montgomery, Alabama called The Rose. and they had AK-47s outside. And I'm like, where are we? Like, what's going on? And then they take us inside. Next thing you know, like a scuffle breaks out in the club. The club owner grabs us because we're kids. I'm 18. Soulja Boy is like 16. We're kids. They pull us, drag us up the stairs and throw us in this like dirty closet little office room. And we're hearing all this commotion. We hear police sirens, everything pulling up. Next thing you know, like, they bring us out, club's empty, and I'm like, oh, somebody got killed. Police surrounding the whole building, everybody's gone. This ended up being the same club Dope B got shot and killed at.
Wow.
Like R.I.P. Dope B. Shout out Frank White down in Montgomery, Alabama. But it's like, that was our first show. And to go from there to, 5-6 months later, we're performing with Kanye West at the VMAs and Hugh Hefner's suite at the Palms Hotel. Like, we're Kanye West's guest performance at the VMAs. To go from that to that in such a short period of time, that's why hip hop and music inspires me so much. You could literally see somebody go from making nothing to more than a Fortune 500 CEO in a year. Like, Rich the Kid used to sleep on my business partner's couch. Like,
He's a hustler, that kid. I know.
Oh, if there should be a documentary called Finesser. He could teach us how to finesse better than anybody. I've never seen somebody finesse so much in my life. This kid. I saw my first interaction with Rich the Kid was in Atlanta, Georgia, at this club called Scores, begging. He was like 16. He had just got out of jail. He was begging to get into the club with us. And we're like, nah, kid, like you're too young.
Right.
Next thing I know, about an hour later, we're in the club. We got a section. We're big Travis Porter. Our DJ is the resident DJ. Boom. And I look across the club. Where's the kids got a section standing on there with bottles? I'm like, how did you do this? But then crazy stuff would happen. I'll be like, he'll get a mixtape with like DJ Scream. I'm like, how did you get a mixtape with DJ Scream? Then I'll see, how do you have a song with Yo Gotti? He would just finesse his way. Well, then I wake up, he's skateboarding with Lil Wayne. It's like, how do you skateboard? He would just finesse his way. And I guarantee he finessed the Kendrick Lamar feature too.
For sure.
It's no doubt.
For sure.
Finesse King.
He just signed with my manager, this dude, Austin Rosen. Yeah, so he's been over here playing some beer pong recently.
That's amazing.
Post was over here. I met him, but that's the one thing my manager said. He was just like, this dude's the biggest. He's a hustler. He's just not gonna lose. Like,
he used to always ask me to manage him, and he used to always ask like QC and those guys to manage him. Nobody wanted to manage him. Then I thought about it. I was like, he's a better manager than I am. Nobody can manage Rich the Kid better than Rich the Kid.
Facts.
The man is the best. If I had his skill set of finessing, I would have been the best manager in history.
You're doing all right.
So Soulja Boy fired me. Go to my mom's house. I'm like, Ma, like, this seems bad, but I promise this is a winning streak. And she's like, what? Even then
you were saying that.
Oh my!
Did you have any? So, if you remember back to then, I'm gonna crack me a brew.
Crack it.
Going back to that time, psyche-wise, you were already rock solid. You knew you were like, this is a winning streak. You're good.
I was delusional, man. That's I guess the gift I was given is I was I will have bad days, depressed times in my life, dark times, but I would always look at those times like, oh, like if I'm laying in bed depressed for 3 weeks, that's me just pulling the slingshot back.
That's the key, bro.
Resting up.
I swear to God, and this podcast, so many episodes have gone that way, where, and in so many different versions, but it's the people that understand that like the steps backwards aren't bad. They're necessary parts of the journey to go somewhere else, to go really, really where you want to go.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And it's crazy that you just kind of had that instilled in you. Not even instilled, just in you.
Yeah, man.
Crazy. So what happened next?
Telling my mom this is a winning streak. She said, boy, what you talking about? I said, Ma, see, me being the cameraman, that was cool. It got me the relationships I needed, but Soulja Boy fired me for a reason. He fired me because I'm supposed to be the manager. I'm not supposed to be the cameraman. I got all these connects. I know the marketing. I know how to make videos. I know how to get something popping. I know DJs now. I know the industry. Right. I'm going to be a manager. I'm going to manage rappers. My mom's like, she believes in me, but she asked me this. She said, what do you know about managing rappers? I said, watch, I'm going to be one of the best who's ever done it. And I went out and I found this girl group. But how I found the girl group was through a very dark time in my life. I needed money. I became a street team member. I was passing out flyers in New Orleans at the 2007 All-Star or 2008 All-Star game.
Wow.
And my friend, His name was Young Envy. He was a rapper. I used to film him.
Mm-hmm.
He was passing out flyers with me, and he said, "Oh, Charlie, man, there's this girl. I think she's cute. I'm, hollering at her, but she does music. Like, I want to show you her music video." And she was in a girl group, and I watched the music video, and I'm looking at it. These girls are superstars. This is gonna be the group I signed. They're like the Outcast mixed with Disney, like tutus and colorful female teen Outcast. And I went to those girls. I said, "I'm gonna get you a record deal." I didn't know if I could get them a record deal, but I believe in this abracadabra thing so much. I put the cart a little before the horse, but then I realized if I put the cart in front of the horse, I could get on the horse and catch up with the cart.
Right.
So I'm just gonna go ahead and say, I get you a record deal.
Right.
And then they signed to me. And then once they signed that piece of paper, I started making phone calls. And Interscope Records was like, okay, we know Soulja Boy doesn't like you, but we kind of think you're a whiz kid, so we're going to take a chance on whatever you say is next. So they signed my group, 24 hours. They committed to signing. They were like, Charlie, we believe we'll sign him.
Wow.
Got him a record deal. I'm working them. Boom. We're getting shows. I'm working them in Atlanta, building their brand, building their fan base. They're on the television. They're on the radio. We got 106 in Park. I got them a show in Washington, D.C. And they get off the stage. And you ever know, like, when somebody just, like, wants to find something wrong? Like, you like, what you mad at? Like, like everything's good, but they find something to be mad at. They cussed me out. They were like, you didn't give us water. And I'm like, I got you a record deal. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm not your babysitter. I'm your manager. And we went to the airport, and they wouldn't even stand next to me. They were like...
After you got him a record deal?
Oh, yeah, this is like, we're popping. Like, we're moving, we're touring, we're doing shows. They're on the radio. And after this show, they yelled at me, and then they wouldn't talk to me.
Right.
So I'm in the airport, Washington, D.C. airport, and they won't even sit next to me. And I'm like, oh, I know this feeling. I've been in the airport when I got fired before. They left me for Sierra's manager. People got in their ears, and they didn't want a 19-year-old manager.
Right.
They were like, we're a big group now.
Right.
We got to have a big manager. So they left me. I'm right back to my mom's basement. And I said, Ma, this is rough. This music industry thing's harder than I think. And then I read this book by Berry Gordy. It's his autobiography, To Be Loved. And the biggest takeaway I took from that book, where Berry Gordy, the greatest independent record label executive in the history of the world, not just where he broke artists, but he created his own genre. He was an entire era. He was literally the greatest of all time, and all of his artists were disloyal except two. And I said, okay, it's not me. Because if they'll leave Berry Gordy, I should expect for them to leave me.
Did you sought that book out for, like, how did you land on that book?
O.G. Carl Washington. He was my attorney at the time. He was an old dude, and he's going to kill me for calling him old. He's only 50. But I look at him as like that old wise man who gives you the guidance, and he always had these crazy analogies, and I used to sit in his office and just listen to him talking. I'm be like, man, I wish I had analogies like that. So now I practice having analogies like that. But he told me to read that book. He said, Charlie, like, this is normal. Like, people are going to leave you. Two will stay. And in my career as music, I had artists leave me. Like, I was looking the other day, I was like, there was this artist that went viral. You saw the little viral clip of Jose Guapo talking about simultaneously. Like, somebody in the podcast or interview said, so how does it feel simultaneously releasing music? And he's like high or something. He's like, simultaneously, what you think, you T.I. using big words? You got to use smaller words with me.
I did see
so that was one of my artists, and he left me. And I've had different artists over time leave me, but two stayed. Travis Porter and 2 Chainz. So it felt like Berry Gordy. So I was like, you know what? If they're going to leave, that's fine. I just got to keep shooting my shot. Right. And I told my mom this is a winning streak because the little pop group, that was cool and all, but I'm from Atlanta, and I need to keep it true to where I'm from. I need a strip club group. Like, the little pop Disney thing is cool, but we got to be able to go to the club. Right. So I sought out the most strip club group of all time, Travis Porter. And I signed them.
They were.
And I would pass out CDs every single night. And I wanted to break down to a science because I didn't want to go get a big record deal because I didn't want their heads to blow up too fast. So I was like, it's time for me to level up now. I got rid of all the like hype in my life, all the little hip hop, like me thinking I'm cool. And I said, I'm going to be of servitude. I'm going to be CEO Charlie. I'm going to put my suit back on. I'm going to be focused and I'm going to get this off the ground by myself. And I wanted to break down how to make a song go national into the most simple form. I wanted to become a professor of the jungle where I knew every ditch, where I knew every single tree. I needed to know how this hip hop thing worked. And I saw this series of events, cascading events that can make something go national. So I'm reverse engineering it from here's a song that goes national, and the most influential urban stations are all owned by Radio 1. And there's like 16 urban stations. So then I said, okay, so let me do some more research. Radio 1 has a monthly call with this man in Atlanta who's the program director of the Atlanta station. His name is Hurricane Dave. And they ask him what songs go national. So I'm like, okay, Hurricane Dave is a very important person, but who influences Hurricane Dave? He has these 6 mix show DJs that are in these 3 strip clubs, and these 3 strip clubs have these couple dancers that influence them. So I said, if I can get these couple dancers to influence these couple DJs can influence Hurricane Dave, and I can make a song go national. So I would take those strip clubs, I'd pass out CDs every night. We would support the dancers. Boom, national song.
Crazy.
I had to make it simple. I was tired of all the complexities. I said, give me the simple play to run and just let me run the play. And when we would have top 10 songs in the country, people say, Charlie, like, y'all are popping. Why are you passing out CDs? I said, this is my play. Our artist can leave me at any time. I'm not going to play with this. I'm going to pass out those CDs myself. They're like, why don't you have a street team do it? I was like, they're not going to exchange the energy like I will. I'm putting my love into each one of these. And when that DJ, who the last person to walk out of the club, sees me passing out the CD, they're going to remember that because all the managers in the game are hitting those DJs up for this limited slots.
Right.
But they see me working hard, and they would play those records as much for me as they would those artists. So Travis Porter begins popping. We catch this record with Roscoe Dash called All the Way Turned Up, which was recorded in my mom's basement on a $100 microphone on GarageBand.
Heater. Yep.
Top 10 record in the country. It was taken away from us because it ended up being Roscoe Dash's song. Everybody thought it was ours. We had all the record labels call in. You know, we assigned Roscoe Dash. He became disloyal, took us off the record, and guess who we put on it?
I should know this. I know that song really well. Who?
Soulja Boy, my arch nemesis. And guess what my last group that left me, their hit single, guess who they put on it? Soulja Boy. It's like I can't get away. He fires me and then he goes and takes all my disloyal artists. But that's okay because a blessing came out of this dark time in my life. So when you have a massive hit record and it's your introduction to the world and it ends up being taken away from you, that can be like a fatality for an artist. So we're in a dark place. Shows slowed down, money ran out, and like I'm trying to get some records mixed. And there was this kid who was homeless, sleeping in a studio. And I had to use him because he only charged $50 to mix a record. And I owed him a couple $100. So I was showing up, boom, pulled up to the studio. He walked outside and I saw this pain. You ever know how you could just like see somebody's energy and you could tell like something's dark?
Yeah, for sure.
And I'm like, man, are you okay? He's like, man, I'm going through some stuff right now. And something told me to give him a few $100 extra. I said, you know what? Something told me to give you this. He said, man, you have no idea how much this helps. And I said, man, you need a job? He said, man, I do need one, bro. I said, you know what? We've been recording in my mom's basement on GarageBand. And you know what? It might be time for us to hire an engineer.
Right.
And like me stop mixing the records myself.
Right.
Like we're not even using Pro Tools. Like we're like I'm doing presets. Like
I started in GB too. In
Yeah?
the band, baby. GarageBand. That was my first like record. I made a record like literally in my dorm room, not thinking much of it, but that was how I got my start. It was on GarageBand.
Yeah, man.
Didn't know what the fuck I was doing at all.
That's all right.
Thank God for GarageBand.
Man, it
Shout
gets
out
us
GarageBand.
started. Shout out to GarageBand.
Yeah, facts.
So this kid, Like I took him to my mom's basement. I'm like, all right, let's get the studio set up. So we go to Guitar Center and we buy like the smallest monitors of all time. And I was being cheap. He's like a very educated like engineer, like he's homeless, but he's educated. He's like, we need stuff, and I'm like, nah, we could just put the speakers on top of the trash can. Like we'll take the little trash can, flip it upside down. That's a speaker stand. He said, Charlie, you got to take this producer stuff. This engineering seriously. I'm like, bro, like equipment doesn't make hits. Artists make hits. And he kept wanting to spend more money, but I didn't really have it to spend. Mm-hmm. And then one day, after about 6 months of us like building like little tiny studios. One day, he brought a keyboard to the studio. A big keyboard, like an 88 keys keyboard. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, bro, what are you doing? You don't make beats? Just like imagine like does any of your videographers make beats?
He does.
You make beats? Do you make beats?
No.
Like, but you know he doesn't make beats.
Right.
What if he brought in a keyboard one day? You'd be like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And he'll be like, I make beats. So that's what this kid did. His name was Marcus. Mm-hmm. He's like, I make beats. We were like, man, you can't make no beat. First beat he made, make it rain, bitch. Make it rain,
really?
bitch. Top 10 song in the country. Second beat he made, Bring It Back. Top 10 song in the country.
Wow.
Third beat he made, Hey Ladies. Okay now, ladies. Yeah. Number 2 song in the country. Marcus.
Wow.
First. Good job, First. He went from being homeless.
That's first?
That's First. Come on, man.
That. I love that.
He went from sleeping on a couch to making these massive records, and then he went on to discover, well, first, he would bring Iggy Azalea to our little, like, 10 by 10 studio with, like, 20 fans in it because the air conditioning didn't work. Mm-hmm. And Iggy Azalea was always there, but she didn't really make music. Right. She was just friends with his girlfriend. Mm-hmm. And so he discovered her, and then he discovered Post Malone. Mm-hmm. Another amazing hip-hop story about anything is possible. You never know. Actually, everything is possible. Mm-hmm. You never know.
Exactly.
Anybody can get it.
Crazy.
At any time. You can't sleep on anybody.
Can't.
Like too many times in our lives, we're looking at, like, okay, I want to be successful. Let me go work with this big person.
Right.
When it's the people around you or below you that are going to change your life.
Right.
Like, why do we keep looking up for success when there could be somebody literally right beside you that's a genius?
Right.
But we're not taking them serious because we're caught up on their status or their Instagram bio or their wiki page.
Yeah. I mean, as a tendency, I feel like humans, taking the quickest route. Taking the quickest route to success is always what I feel like what everyone's looking for. You know what I mean? So looking upwards to go upwards is but like you said, one, the chances of that happening are slim. Mm-hmm. But two, the people that put in your life are there for a reason. You know what I mean? And so First, for everyone now listening, First is a dope producer. I'm friends with him. He was one of the first guys rocking with Post for sure. That's how I've gotten even connected. Obviously, my connection to Post, but that was the dude that you gave some extra money to.
Yeah,
just because gave
him a little job. He changed my life, and he's a genius.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's got that like he was a big part of that ATL sound. You know what I mean? For sure. What was FKI? What was it? It was
FKI. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. And where does 2 Chainz fit into this lineage, time frame wise?
Man, so we got it popping in Atlanta with Travis Porter. Travis Porter's Atlanta like household name.
Yeah,
everywhere else
sure.
in the country, not so much, but Southeast household name. And at the time, we got invited to this music video shoot where Lil Wayne is going to be there. Mm-hmm. Lil Wayne had a music video with this group named Player Circle. Mm-hmm. And everybody in Atlanta knows Titty Boy is like kind of a legend, but he has never really been big.
Right.
But we know he's a legend, but nobody really wanted to touch him. He was in a group. His name was Titty Boy. He was signed to Luda. Everything was kind of like, not working in his favor.
Right.
So he wasn't like a free agent. He was locked up, right? And when I was at this music video shoot, I'm getting to witness these, like a contrast. Lil Wayne is a massive superstar. He walks in the room, atmosphere changes. People stop what they're doing, they look, boom. But then when Titty Boy walked in the room, the atmosphere changed. it was like an Egyptian pharaoh walked in. It was like, no, it was like literally royalty walked in, and people act different in how he carried himself. And even though he wasn't a poppin' rapper, his presence, his aura, his energy was electric. And me and my business partners, Tech and Al, we're looking at him like, he's it. But we were like, we were young. You know, like I remember one time I took 2 Chainz to check into a hotel, and he like saw my ID and it said under 21, and he's like, hold on, like, how old are you? And I'm like, you know, like I would like try to wear a suit every day to act old. You know, I never say my age, but it was like, I knew he was a star, and he wanted, you know who Rico Brooks is? So he manages like Metro Boomin and like Sunny Digital, big industry manager. And Titty Boy 2 Chainz wanted Rico to be his manager, but we wanted to manage him. So he looked at us, me and my business partners, as like his street team, his marketers. And he looked at Rico as like the business manager.
Right.
And I didn't let that stop me. I was like, okay, he puts us in a room together to have meetings, and I'm going to just act like his manager. Like, forget being street team. I'm going to act like I'm the manager. So I laid out 30-day, 60-day, 90-day game plan. Boom. We're passing out CDs every night. I remember there was this one night that it was at Figure 8 nightclub. Bad part of town, West Atlanta. 2 Chainz walks out the club. It's wintertime. It's raining. It's cold. He walks out the club and he sees me passing out CDs in the rain, in my suit and tie.
It's legendary.
And we made eye contact, and that was the first time I really felt a connection where he was like, okay, so this is what it's like to have somebody care about you. And we would go into these meetings, and Rico Brooks just stopped showing up, you know, just because it was just kind of apparent that me, Tech, and Al of Street Execs, we were going to be his managers, and Rico just kind of bowed out. And it just was. And we took Titty Boy, you know, we got him out of his deal with Ludacris. We changed his name to 2 Chainz. And
wow.
We
That was you guys who changed the name.
Yeah.
Fucking genius.
And, you know, we went from like $2,000 a show to $150,000 a show in a relatively short period of time. World tours, Grammys. I mean, it was great.
2 Chainz, boom. He really boomed up. What year was this? What year was
2010 is when it started, and we worked it all the way up to I mean, I remember the pinnacle night. I mean, being a hip hop artist from Atlanta, like, you don't win Grammys. Like, Grammys are like reserved for like, you know, Adele.
Yeah, you're right. It feels like, yeah.
So that night, it was 2017. I was as sick as I had ever been. At the time, I had gotten over 300 pounds, got diagnosed with a brain tumor. There was one morning I woke up at 2 Chainz' house in Hollywood, and the room just started spinning. I passed out, and it was my brain tumor. It was wrapped around my left eye. It was wrapped around the artery that goes into the brain.
Wow.
Started corroding the top of my spinal cord, and I mean the spine going up into my brain.
Right.
And it was just sitting on top of it because it was so big, and I was looking at my life as if, like, wow, like, that's my story. Like, and when you're facing death and you feel like it's over, you just get scared, and like, I called my mom. I was like, Mom, just come in town and visit me, but I didn't want to tell her what was going on with me.
Right.
And I said, I just need you to come visit me. And we spent some days together, and when you're broken, all you have left is your truth. Like when things are good, you think about, you know, certain things, but when things are bad, you think about all the things you wish you became. And I went back to my childhood dream, and it made my heart sing again. Like, I want to be an athlete. Like, I've got to know I could do it. If I'm going to die, like, this is what I've got to do. And I made up my mind right then and there. We had just won a Grammy. And I'm like, I'm leaving. I'm retiring. I went to my artists. I went to my business partners. I said, I'm done. They're like, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to be an athlete. And that made no sense to anybody.
Yeah, it's the most obscure thing ever. So let's not rush past this now. So you're having amazing success. You built his career. You know what I mean? This is when you're still street execs, correct? And you have this time where you're probably flying high up to that time. You have the Grammy win. You find out you're sick, right? And then what happens? Like what from you have that realization about being an athlete, but what happens? Did you have to go through? Were you sick for a long period of time, or what happened?
I had a few options. Medication that they were giving me wasn't working, so they were jacking up the dosage amount to try to shrink the brain tumor. It wasn't shrinking it. It started. There's one with this medication. It's the safest way to go, but it started affecting my heart valves. So my heart valves started making a noise. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, so if I'm going to try to fix my brain, but the medication is not working, so now it's affecting my heart valves. I'm feeling screwed here. I'm like asking the doctors, like, what is the root cause of this? Like, why do I even have a brain tumor?
Right.
And they're like, no, just take this medication, or you could do chemo, or we could try to cut it out, but it's a very invasive surgery and it's not recommended. And I'm like, okay, I'm kind of screwed. And then I thought, like, okay, and this is actually during the time I flew my mom in town, and something told me, I remember I was in Manhattan Beach in an Airbnb. I'm sitting on the couch, and I turn on the TV, turn on the Netflix, and something told me to watch a vegan documentary. And I'm from the South. I knew one vegan friend. I was like, vegans are
fried
weird.
Chicken, baby.
Like, we're eating fried chicken. I was 300 pounds. I was the king of eating food. Like, I'm like a big boy.
Yeah, I saw the pictures.
And something told me that maybe it's the way I've been eating my whole life. Maybe that's why I'm sick. So what would be that one thing that would fix that? Because diets haven't worked. I've been on diets my whole life. I would starve myself. I would do keto. I'll do everything. I was like, all right.
So you were trying that stuff up to then.
Oh man, I've been on diet since I was 8. Like, I even ran 3 marathons. It's hard to tell the whole story because it's just difficult. I ran 3 marathons. First of all, I starved myself down 100 pounds at one point in my life, adult life.
Is this before?
This is during all my success. Starved myself down 100 pounds. Started gaining weight back. And during that time, I was like, okay, since I'm gaining all this weight back, it's really embarrassing. Like, people get so proud of you for losing weight.
Right.
And then the next time they see you, they're like, oh, Lord. Like, they don't even want to look you in the eye.
Right.
Like, they're like, oh, you like are losing, you're falling off again. So I was like, well, what if I run a marathon? If I run a marathon, there's no way I could gain weight. So I trained for 10 months, did the Santa Rosa Marathon. And through that process, I gained about 20 pounds because I would out-eat all my training. And then I was like, okay, let me do another marathon. Wow. Then I did a marathon in Atlanta. Then I gained about 15, 20 more pounds. And then I did the LA Marathon that February. So I ran 3 marathons in the course of a year, and I gained about 50 to 60 pounds during that time. My heaviest weight that I ran a marathon was the LA Marathon, 270 pounds.
You ran a marathon at 270?
Yeah.
Wow.
I kept gaining weight, kept gaining fat through all my training because I would have a binge eating disorder because right before I was starving myself so much. So I would have this fear of not having food and I would diet, but the running made me really hungry. So then I would just binge and I would still wake up the next morning and train. But then the same process would happen.
Crazy.
So I was trying my whole life. I was failing at my efforts. And then I watched that vegan documentary. And I changed everything. I changed how I ate. I then moved to LA. I left my business. I had to change everything. I changed what I was consuming, not just eating, but I deleted social media. I deleted television. I deleted friends. I deleted my city. I deleted everything. And I was like, give me a blank slate. I'm here to change my life. And nobody understood what I was doing, but I said, I'm going to be a Nike athlete.
Wow. So win a Grammy and then left.
Yeah.
Crazy. And just to be clear on the timeline, you had ran before you found out you were sick.
Yeah.
You had already ran the marathons?
3. Yep.
3 marathons.
Yeah.
So you moved to LA. Mm-hmm. You're still sick?
Or yeah.
You're still sick.
Yeah.
Okay. So walk us through. I mean, if you can revisit a little bit, it's fascinating to me because I've never... I go through my life and I have these days or I've had such a privileged life looking back at it and getting to this vantage point, and even the hardships that I've had, right? And we talk about the hardships on this. They're just so minuscule comparatively to, like, you know, I'm fascinated and inspired by people all the time that deal with like life-threatening things, like truly like rattle your entire being as a person, and understand, like, I love tapping into those people and their and what happened in their psyche that made them we're able to transcend it, or at least at the very least be a positive, happy person. Obviously everyone has their you know, everyone has their days, but it puts it into perspective for me, and I think for a lot of people who never have gone through anything so severe. You know, it puts your problems in perspective so much. My problem, you know what I mean? The things that I consider hardships are fucking walking the park comparatively to having a brain tumor and getting that news. It's ironic how you get that news at the same time where things are. You said you're sick and overweight, but you know, you're having amazing success, doing a lot of the things Charlie from your mom's basement would be so happy and proud of, right? And at that same time, you get that news. You know, you have a brain tumor. It's like,
man, it's a gift though. Like, so at the time we don't really understand why something bad's happening. But if I never got sick, I would have never been pushed into the direction of reconnecting with my childhood dream. That dream was given to me for a reason. And I would have never done it unless God, the universe, whatever y'all believe in, is like, nope, time to go this way. So let me force you out of this direction because I actually need you. So it's like, say God is like, nah, I need you to go do this hip hop thing so you can learn how to make things cool. So when I bring you over here to this inspiring people space, you'll know how to communicate with people and you'll know how to market it because this actually is going to change people's lives. But if you're just like a regular author or motivational speaker, you'll know nothing about culture.
Right.
So let me put you in hip hop so you can understand culture. So when I bring you over here to change people's lives, you'll be able to connect with them on a whole different way. So you know what? I need you now to come over here. So now you're about to be sick. And I'm actually going to give you all this food addiction and stuff because that's actually going to inspire people. I'm going to give you the brain tumor because that's actually going to inspire people. And it's going, boom, Charlie, it's time to go back. Go back to that. It's time for a do-over.
Crazy.
Do-over. 8-year-old, I went off track, buried a dream. 28 years old, I said, you know what? I'm gonna give myself a name. At that time, I called myself CEO Charlie. I said, you know what? My do-over says, now I'm going to call myself Charlie Rocket. I'm going to be an athlete. And I called myself a rocket because I believe I am a rocket. I believe everybody is a rocket. Rocket takes off. First mile, it starts off slow. When I started, I was 300 pounds. I'm still a rocket, even though I'm slow. Doesn't mean you don't got to be fast to be a rocket. Every rocket starts off slow, and it's only 62 miles to outer space. That's it. That's not very far. I could do 62.
So it's 3 marathons. You did it.
Come on, man. That's easy.
Yeah.
So yeah, man.
So you come out. So mindset wise, now you have that conversation with your mom at some point, right? How long? I mean, if at all, how long are you just, woe is me, like sad, sick, you know, not able to, like, did you even have that time? Were you just like,
oh yeah, man. It was months of what I'll call me pulling the slingshot back. Anytime I'm depressed,
I like that.
I sleep a lot when I'm depressed. I get by myself a lot when I'm depressed.
Right.
So I have repositioned it in my mind to just say, no, I'm just resting up for this next big thing. And, you know.
Jim Carrey said this thing. I saw him talk about depression. And he's like, depressed, like deep rest. You know what I mean? And it's giving your social mask. Everyone's living with a social mask. Like, and it's tiring. it's tiring to uphold that character that, you know, when you go out and you say hello to the neighbors or whoever, you're still putting on this.
True.
And it's time to give your soul like a deep rest.
That's right.
And that's kind of the way you put it as well.
100%.
So you were what, for a few months?
And then I just realized, so I would like write down in my notebook all my dreams. So I keep this notebook. I've always kept notebooks since I was little. And
was that you, or did someone tell you? Did someone
it was just
put
always
that in
it was just always me. It was my way of being organized. You know, just like if I got something in my mind, I'm gonna write it down.
Right.
And then I would see like the things coming true. And I would write more, and I'll write more. And now today I write a whole bunch, and I call it my Quantum Possibilities Notebook. Yep. And I started just talking about my dreams because it would allow me to get into this like delusional space that just felt good. It's like, I'm going to be a Nike athlete. It's already done. Like, I'm going to bike across America. I'm going to do an Ironman. Like, I remember actually New Year's Eve 2016, so it was going into 2017. I wrote a postcard and put it on my refrigerator, and it was called a 2017 contract to myself. And I wrote on it, I'm going to complete an Ironman. And
at that time, you're overweight.
I was overweight, and I just started training, and I approached it like how an 8-year-old would do it. Like, I was really tapping back into my inner child. Like, I wanted to take back custody of my inner child, because here I was, CEO Charlie, all this business, all this yelling, all this music, all this, you know, war. Like, I had artists like Bankroll Fresh who got shot and killed at my studio. I had artists like Young Dolph who had been shot at hundreds of times. Like, we're dealing with his own 2 police department every day. Like, we got shootings and all this stuff, Sprinter vans getting shot up. Like, I was in war. Like, when you think of like, you know, like those hip hop, Biggie, Tupac lives, like I had to live that.
No, I was when I came across you and then looked into like your backstory, but that was like one of my first reactions. Like, those are like real street dudes.
Yeah.
Your acts were like real street dudes.
Yeah. Because that's what I like.
It's not a game, you know what I mean? It's like, it's crazy.
So coming out of that, I just wanted to be a kid again. And people ask me, Charlie, why you dressed like that? Why you wearing Mickey Mouse? It's like, this is my chance to be a kid again. Like, I want to wear, like, this is from 96 Olympics Atlanta. I was literally 8 years old. I was 8 years old when this jacket was made. Like, I literally want to wear what can take me back. And so that's why I gave myself the name Charlie Rocket. That's why, like, you know, it's just like, that inner child, when we were kids, all we knew was possibilities. And so it's like, you could be everything. That's what our parents told us. Then when we got older, they're like, nah, be realistic. So I'm writing down, I'm going to be a Nike athlete. I'm like getting delusionally optimistic. I mean, healthy. I'm starting to lose weight. I got completely alkaline. So
you converted to veganism.
Veganism.
From that documentary, right? So
brain tumor started shrinking. Weight started coming off. All the stress and cortisol was leaving my body. I'm just training for my Ironman. I'm training like an 8-year-old, just having fun every day. I'm not following any program. I'm just like playing, you know, every day. I wake up and go play for a couple hours. Like when we were 8, we would ride our bike around the neighborhood for a couple hours. Is that hard? No. Like, so training for an Ironman, I didn't want it to be hard. I wanted it to be playing. So I just woke up and play. I go to the pool and play. So that was my mentality, because I wanted everything to be easy. I was tired of this word grind. I'm tired of grinding. Like, everybody's telling us to grind. If I were to say, you know what, let me drag you across America, that's grinding. You know, or I could put you on an airplane. Which one sounds better? Like, give me the airplane. I want the airplane. Like, I'm tired of grinding. And so I want everything in my life to be airplane mode. Like, no
Law
friction.
Of least effort, baby.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
So brain tumor started shrinking because I got all the inflammation out of my body. I got all the stress out of my body, all the fake chemicals that I was eating. When I would binge eat, it would be gas station
You'd probably be a really good candidate. Are people like, are vegan, or is it this story, you know, obviously you're in the business of sharing your story. Are people reaching out to you on behalf of like vegan movements? Because this is, I mean, it's
no, because I really don't. I like most of my followers. Like, if they listen to my documentary, I mean, if they listen to my podcast, they know I'm vegan. But I'm not one of those vegans.
No, I know. I'm not even saying you're.
So I don't really get hit up.
Yeah.
Nobody hits me
But
up.
that's wild.
Yeah, zero vegan companies or movements
wild.
hit me up. I guess because I'm not flaming vegan. You know, like I'm like I'm vegan, but I don't look, act, talk.
I mean, you would think you would be. You would be, though. It fucking saved your life, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that's incredible. It's
Yeah,
incredible.
man.
It made me want to be a vegan just hearing that. That's crazy. Yeah, wow.
So-
So that, how long until the brain tumor subsides?
I mean, I still have it. It's under control though. Like I'm not sick anymore. Like it's not life threatening. It shrunk, and it still affects my hormones a little bit, but everything's good. But I always like have to kind of like dial it in,
Right.
and sometimes I feel like if I start eating too much like processed food.
How crazy.
Yeah,
That's
but
wild.
but food is medicine. Like it can like okay, so like this is the danger of food, right? So like me dealing with all the violence of hip hop, like my family would call me, my aunts and uncles, they would see my company or even me on the news, and they would be like, "This hip hop thing is very dangerous." I'd be like, "It is," you know. And I did a Google search. How many gun deaths are there a year? 22,000, which is way too many. But then I looked up how many cardiovascular deaths are there a year, 600,000. I said to my family, I was like, look, there's more violence going on in your kitchen than there is at my studio. Like more people are dying because of food
Crazy.
than from guns by the biggest margin. So just know, food will kill me before a gun will all day, and I got to get my health together. That's what y'all should be worried about, not these, you know, little incidents at my studio,
Right.
but what I'm eating.
Right.
And I just decided to dedicate my whole life to it.
So when you move out to LA, you've converted to veganism, you have a new goal. And the goals, it's interesting to point out, they're not monetary. There's no value monetarily for this. You're just thinking, I want to go complete an Ironman. I want to become a Nike athlete. I'm not sure how at that time, but that's an interesting thing, because I feel like most people who have these life, you have these goals and drastic changes where they're going and chasing something, as much as it's like, it could be, it's passion based, but there's a monetary, there's the entire society that we live upon is like, okay, well, how are you gonna supply for yourself to live? You know what I mean? Like there's an undertone of how are we gonna survive? How are we gonna make money? You know what I mean? So when you made that move, what was your thought process? Because you're not, the way you said it was just like, I go out and play every day to train. You know, what were you doing? Were you doing shit on the side? Had you made enough from the music money that you were?
I had made enough, but I was having to be very frugal because I didn't know when money was gonna come.
Right, and I think that's so interesting, though. That's fascinating, because it takes a certain. I mean, you had a life altering, experience with being sick and obviously your weight, but it was like. It feels refreshing to hear you just the way you had put it, where you're like, I'm gonna go run an Ironman and become a Nike, and every day I go out and play. I'm not training, It's like, it's interesting to hear someone put it that way. So you were being frugal and just being
very frugal, but I needed something to shake.
Right.
So I'm like looking at it like, okay, I'm gonna inspire people, and I love Nike, and they're the most inspirational company in the world. And I was like, Nike needs an athlete like me. And I was like, this is how I'm going to make money. I'm going to become a Nike athlete. And I'll tell people this, and they would think I'm crazy. And they're like, Charlie, you don't play for the Lakers. You're not in the Olympics. What are you talking about? Athlete, Nike. I was like, look, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a fan-made Nike commercial, because I know they're going to see it, and then they're going to want to sign me in as an athlete. And then I'm going to be in commercials with LeBron and Serena. Like, they're like, Charlie, what is going on? I said, no, watch what I do. And I started calling around to all my like TV producer friends in Hollywood, and I was like telling them this, and they're like, Charlie, what are you
Charlie
talking
went
about?
off the deep end, man.
Like, that's what they think. He retired, and now he's a crazy like lunatic.
Yeah.
And I said, no, like I'm gonna make a video. And they're like, Charlie, tell me about this video you want to make. I was like, well, it's going to have this like Hans Zimmer music that's going to make people real emotional. And then it's going to be my life story, and it's going to be very inspirational, and boom, boom, boom. And I'm telling them what I'm looking to do. They're like, Charlie, like that's a real production. That's not a vlog. Yeah. Like what you want to make, Nike commercial, that's going to cost quite a bit of money. Right. You're going to have to hire several people.
Right.
I said, no, I won't. I said, there's somebody who can shoot, who can edit, who can score, who can make original music, who owns equipment, and can audio mix and master
He's that guy for me. Yeah.
And they're like, Charlie, like, come on, you're gonna spend a bunch of money for that. I was like, I don't have a bunch of money to spend. And everybody was shooting me down. One morning, I wrote down in my notebook, I'm sitting on my couch. I'm living with roommates because I'm being frugal. Living with roommates. And I said, today is the day. I searched and found my videographer / editor. It's done, ! It's easy, ! That was the actual sentence. And at the bottom of the page, I said, it's already done. Time hasn't caught up yet. An hour later, my roommate, his name is Morgan. He's about the most boring human being on earth. He's like an accountant at Whole Foods or something. He walks in the front door, and behind him is a camera guy holding a big old Ronin Steadicam. And I'm like, what are you doing with a camera guy? You know, it's like, this is not normal for you.
Right.
I live with you. Like, you're not a celebrity. And then this guy who walks in, he talked funny, and like, I was like, so tell me about what you do. He's like, well, nobody ever pays me to do camera work. I just do it for free because nobody ever pays me. And it's like,
So what was he filming him for?
it was about for some Airbnb thing for Morgan's friend, Manny, who called Morgan. It's like, can they come over to the house? And it just series of events led this guy into my front door. And I'm thinking to myself, I just wrote down in my notebook that today's the day, and here's a cameraman, not very hopeful. He's not acting like a successful cameraman who could do what I want. But I said, you know what? Let me see your work. So I pull it up on the computer. He had a little short film. And I said, this is great. You shot this? He said, yeah, I shot it. I said, do you own your own equipment? He said, man, I'll be honest, man. I'm kind of like a hoarder. Like, I just take all the little money I make from my side jobs, buy camera equipment. I have anamorphic lenses. I have this camera, that camera, this camera, that camera, this Steadicam, this boom, boom, boom. And I'm like, what in the world? And I was like, okay, who edited this? Because a lot of times the person who shoots doesn't edit. He said, oh, I edited it too. I said, who made the music on this? He said, well, I've been in a rock band for about 15 years. I used to be on the Warped Tour, so I make music. And I said, who color graded this? He said, well, I taught myself Da Vinci on YouTube. And I said, who mixed and mastered this audio? He said, well, I'm an audio engineer too. And I said, do you need a job? He said, bro, you have no idea. I've been applying to places like Hulu, and they always reject me. And I said, I'll give you a job. And we sat down at the counter, and which is a little burger restaurant. We had Impossible Burgers. And I said, I'm going to be a Nike athlete. He said, how are you going to do that? I said, we're going to make a Nike commercial. We're going to tell my life story, and Nike's going to see it.
I saw it.
Appreciate it, man. That we filmed that for $350. Hans Zimmer music and everything. Like, he made all the strings himself, everything. We had a PVC pipe to make sure the camera was the same distance from me, and he was riding on a skateboard as we're running around LA. Like, so it was like this cool little like camera gag with the music and the footsteps that made the beat.
Right.
And we put it out, and I knew it was going to happen. Like, I knew I was going to be a Nike athlete. Like, I already knew. That's why I wasn't worried. Like,
So at what point did you learn how to eliminate doubt?
man, it
Not
really...
to say you eliminate it completely. I'm sure you experience it in certain elements, but you seem so...
No. I deal with doubt all the time.
Yeah.
Like, the people who work with me know that I have my phases of being extremely doubtful, but I have extremes. I get extremely doubtful, and then I have extreme delusional optimism. And I go back and forth, and I always got to make sure, when I feel good, this is the key. When I feel good, like, I think unlimited. When I'm tired and like beat down, I think negatively.
Right.
So around this time, I was eating so healthy. I was eating high frequency foods. Like, you are what you eat. Everything I was eating was vibrating.
You might be. I might be a vegan after this.
So it's like, if I eat a Cliff Bar, is that dead or alive?
It's dead.
It could sit on that shelf for like 3 years.
Yeah.
If I eat an orange, like if you were to put like a instrument to look at the energy coming off of it, it would be glowing.
Right.
Like, so that's what I was eating every day. I was eating high frequency food. So it's like my antenna was like far. It's like I had Verizon, and how I used to was like Boost Mobile. Like
Pay to play. Yeah.
it's like I've got an antenna.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm connected. I started studying quantum
Interesting.
physics, and everything in this world is energy. And I'm just happen to connect to what I want because my antenna reaches further. And I'm like attracting, law of attraction, writing every day. Like, I'm going to be a Nike athlete. Then this dude walks in my front door. Like, I'm literally connected to where, like, the universe, God, all of the above, sent him through my front door to make this happen because I knew being a Nike athlete was a real possibility. I knew as a kid being an athlete was a real possibility. That vision wasn't given to me for no reason. The universe is putting all these little pieces in play to make this happen.
Yep.
We shoot this film. We put it out. It gets 1 million views. I didn't have that many followers. I had like 15,000 followers on Instagram.
I was gonna ask, did you have any type of tactics for growing it, or did it just grow? Did it just go on its own?
Yeah, I had a tactic. Touch people's hearts.
Yeah.
Forget
I'm saying as far as expanding reach, you just played.
it was one concept. If I touch people's hearts, I'll
sure.
break the algorithm.
For sure.
Forget all the hashtags. Let's just touch their heart. Let's be real. And I put it out. Nike calls me 3 days later.
3 days?
3 days.
Incredible. Didn't you put like insert Nike logo at the end?
Yeah, because it was like it was literally my manifestation.
Yeah.
Like
You,
that
lobbed
was
it up to them. Like,
yeah. And a guy named Andy called me from Nike, and he was like, "We don't know who you are, but you got our whole campus in a frenzy." And I'm freaking out. I get off the phone. I call everybody who thought I was crazy, and I was
Told
like,
you.
"It happened! Like it actually happened." I wasn't even like on the "I told you" because I didn't want to like lower the frequency.
Better than not. Yeah, you're right.
But I just, everybody was happy for me, and I didn't know what was going to come out of it. But they wanted me to come to Beaverton, and so this is like me getting to physically walk through the manifestation I created. Like I created this, and now I'm walking through it in real time, and I'm on campus, and like people on campus are like clapping for me, Charlie Rocket, and I'm like, what is going on? And the big executives walked me into a conference room, and I thought this was just gonna be like a cute little meet and greet, like a little feel good story. Let's tap the little filmmaker.
No, but you didn't. You knew.
I didn't, but I did. Sometimes I have to go back and forth from who I am because CEO Charlie knows what he's doing, but then Charlie Rocket, the dreamer, is just sometimes like mind blown by the possibilities because CEO Charlie was mathematics. 1 + 1 = 2. Like, and it worked. If I pass out this many more CDs, if I wake up this early, boom, boom, boom. But Charlie Rocket is operating by 1 + 1 = 1,000. Like, this is like me like needing magic in order to pull off these big things. And now I realize both work. Both work. The grind and the hustle,
Facts.
the mathematics, which is in science, with me studying quantum physics, there's physics, and then there's quantum physics. It's literally the same. Physics is literal, just math. Quantum physics is mystical.
Right.
It's like, what?
I saw some excerpts of you talking about quantum physics, and I know it's a big player in like who you are now today, and just it's really fascinating to me. I haven't even really dove into it, so I'm a little jealous of. I watched a few breakdowns of you talking about quantum physics.
It explains.
When
a
did
lot
that
of
happen for you? This year or the last few years? Just
So this
started studying it.
This happened right before the Nike thing. So I remember it was October 2007. So about 4 or 5 months before the Nike thing. I'm in this salad restaurant, Sweet Green, and I'm
Phenomenal salad, by the way.
phenomenal.
Shout out Sweet Green.
So
Fire.
I'm talking to my friend about my Ironman training, and I'm using the terms, oh, it's going to be easy. I'm training like an 8-year-old. Like, I'm saying the word easy so many times that this guy, he looks like Morpheus. Like, this big black dude in a trench coat walks over to me, and he says, I'm overhearing your conversation. I say, yeah? He said, you're very quantum. I said, what does that mean? He said, I could tell there's probably a lot of things you're attracting into your life that might be surprising or maybe even scary. I said, bro, you have no idea. I'm scared to tell people all this stuff. I don't want them to think I'm weird, but like lately, all this crazy stuff. Like there was this one day where I thought about my old business partner. He called me 2 minutes later. But then I had another business partner. And I thought of him the same day, and he called me, and then it happened the third time in the same day. There was also this time with a DM. I'm running down Venice Boardwalk, and I remembered this old friend of mine from Atlanta that I haven't talked to in 12 years. Her name was Sansa Ray. She was part of the dance movement we were doing with Spit Your Game. And I tried going on Instagram searching for her, but I couldn't figure out how to spell her name. It's not the easiest name to spell. So I went to like 5 different profiles, couldn't find her. The next day, she DMs me.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And then I literally have the DM, and I said to her, you won't believe this. Look at my search history. I just searched for you yesterday, screenshot it, sent it to her, and she was like, where are you at now? I'm like, I'm in LA. Where are you at? She said, I'm in LA. Like, it's crazy, but stuff like that was happening every day.
That's why I asked you about this, because in this house, I'm probably the most out of the group, but like...
You're the most quantum?
Yeah, and I'm fascinated by it, because I feel it more and more, and I experience it more and more. Just shit like that. Things I think about somehow reappear. It's very, very, very fascinating, and I come from a very, just for lack of a better word, non-quantum, like, very practical place.
Yes.
And for the first 21 years of my life, bro, I was living an entire different, like, that's what kind of attracted me to your story so much. I was a fucking high-level baseball player, very regimented. Every day, wake up, get your workout, go to class. Went to Duke University, played baseball there. Very high-level student, athlete. Fast track to profession. That was my dream my entire life, and I was on the way. And then I had Tommy John surgery. Happens out of nowhere. But my point is, like, I feel like I started a whole new life. But, like, the way I was raised and what feels normal and, like, that sounds kind of crazy, bro. You're talking about, like, you can't think about it. Like, it really took a while for me to personally knock that wall down and be like, no, there's so much more.
Let's do this. Let's break down some basics of quantum physics for the people listening.
Let's do it, yeah. Because I think most people probably have fucking no idea.
Okay. So Einstein, who was a very smart man, was being able to witness these experiments when quantum physics was first discovered in the early 1900s.
It's pretty recent.
It's recent science.
Right.
But Einstein is looking at these experiments and he's like, this is spooky. That was the technical term he used and published. This is spooky. It's a mystical world, but science has proven it now. And now it's the next wave of explaining things. And it's really explaining the ancient mysticisms and things religions have been talking about for thousands of years. So the hippies were kind of right all these years. And I'm no hippie.
Do you take psychedelics at all?
I've never done anything, brother.
Okay.
So we're going to explain quantum physics in the most simple way possible.
You can use those moon batch. You can tell them on the wave. I got manifestation candles over there.
All right. Moon batch. All right. So here we have what we're going to call a wall. Let me get that cup too. Okay. So here we have a wall that has 2 doors in it. Door 1 and door 2. Can we see on the cameras here? Now imagine this being a atomic particle, and this is a test that they did called the double slit test. They took an atomic particle and they shot it at this wall, and it went through both doors at the same time. Well, how can an atomic particle be in 2 different places at the same time? Einstein said, "This is spooky. I don't like it."
Yeah.
Well, this atomic particle, my friends, is not a piece of matter like traditional physics thought it was. If this is a wave, can a wave be here and here?
Yes, sir.
Like, think about dropping a rock in a pond. The rock is a piece of matter, but the wave that comes off of it, imagine it going through both.
Right.
Okay, so this is where the law of attraction gets tied into this. So they run the test again, but let's get Stone Cold Steve Austin, 316.
Be careful with him, all right?
Be careful with old Steve. So the physicists took Stone Cold Steve Austin and they had him look at this one, at this door only. They run the same test. They shoot this quantum particle.
Only went through that one.
It only goes through that one. The quantum particle acts like a wave when nobody's looking, but when human attention is put on something, it directs. what do they say? The attention, things go where attention flows, or whatever the saying is. It's literally true. So then they had them look at this one, and it would go through this one. They had them not look at anything. It goes through both. So everything in this universe is a fuzzy wave of possibilities.
Right.
It can be in a million different places, but where we look is where it collapses the quantum particles and says, nope, we're going that way. Right. We're going to take these millions of possibilities and we're going to formulate a direction to them. So when we're thinking about something, they can feel it. I was thinking about Nike. They could feel it. The guy walked through my front door. He could feel it. Everything came together because I was so focused on it, but I wasn't focused on I want it. I was acting like it was already mine. It was already done. Time hadn't caught up yet. It's easy. That's why Mr. Collier walked up to me. He said, you're very quantum because you keep saying everything's easy. It's already yours. That Ironman's already done. Yeah, I was like, it's already done. It's easy. I did the Rich Roll podcast.
I'm ready to run through a wall.
Come on, man. Let's run. You know Rich Roll?
Yeah,
he has a big
I'm
podcast.
A fan, yeah.
So I did his interview before I did the podcast, and he's one of the most successful vegan endurance athletes ever.
Yeah.
Like top 20 fittest men on earth.
He's a beast.
And he said, Charlie, you need any advice for your Ironman? I said, and I'm like chubby. I'm like the same weight now as I was then doing my Ironman. And he's like, you need any advice? I'm like, no, it's going to be easy. He's like, Charlie, come on, man. Ask me a question. I was like, I don't need any advice. Like, this Ironman is literally going to be easy. I have it all figured out already. I'm going to wake up and I'm going to run further. Like, duh. Like, it's not hard. And that's just that frequency that I'm tuned to, that the Ironman was already done. The Nike was already done. So we walk into the conference room and the big executives are there. And they're like, you inspired us to change the direction of our company. I'm thinking to myself, Jesus Christ, this was like one of the biggest companies in the world, Dow 30 stock. They're saying I inspired them to change the direction. They said we forgot why we came to work every day. Like we were caught up too much in the numbers, and we saw your inspiring film, and it made us remember the dreamer athlete and the crazy dreamers of the world. And they said, we have a big surprise for you. And a few months later, they put together the biggest campaign they've ever done. The biggest campaign they've ever done was featuring Colin Kaepernick.
Oh, yeah.
And it was named Dream Crazy. It was the most controversial commercial of sports history and maybe the most culturally pivoting commercial.
It really was.
And I was in it. And what really blew my mind and confirmed that quantum physics and the law of attraction is so real is not that I was just in a Nike commercial and I became a Nike athlete, but I would write down every day, I'm going to be in a commercial with LeBron James and Serena Williams, and they were in that commercial, and I knew my dreams knew the future.
So weird. And it's not weird, but it's just so, it's just incredible. You're talking to someone, I'd say for the last, like, how long have I been talking about journaling? Probably like a year or so, but like already, dude, I've, just in a year of doing it, so many things I've written down that didn't happen yet. I wrote them as if I had them have happened.
That's, a friend of mine, his name, he's a wizard. So I've been able to, I don't know, when I tune to these frequencies, weird people come into my life and explain this stuff. Right. But this guy, his name is JB. Call him a wizard. He gave me this term that really helped me. He called it futuring. He said, Charlie, what you're doing is you're futuring. And he said, if you really want to manifest something, make a song. I'm like, what do you mean make a song?
I saw this. I wanted to touch on this.
So I was like, all right.
I love it.
He's like, download a beat. And I downloaded Drake's Closer to My Dreams.
Good choice.
And I put it into GarageBand. And he said, on the beat, talk about the future. But don't just talk about it. You got to feel the future. So it's like
one of the keys. That's one of the keys for people listening. I've talked about it a few times, but even in my form of meditation, that's like one of the main things is like all the things that I envision before I meditate. Where meditate, you try to just quiet your brain and thoughts completely. But going into it, you try to go in on the highest frequency and envision the things you want to see. Yeah. And envisioning it, the number one key, is even when you're writing down, I have this, I am this. Yeah. You have to be able to connect the feeling of the heart with it. And that's the challenge. Yeah. That's a challenge for someone who's sitting in their mom's house and like, I ain't got, I really like objectively don't have shit. If you're thinking about the objectives of like you not having it yet, it won't ever connect. You have to
The
actually.
law of attraction is literally always working. It doesn't choose to work when we start thinking about what we want.
Right.
It's literally always work. Quantum physics does not decide when it wants to turn on and turn off because we chose it. So whatever we're thinking right then is like, oh, I'm struggling. It's still working. So this is very powerful for us to realize, and it's very dangerous for us in times of pain.
Exactly.
And that's why I switched to that winning streak mentality. If something bad's happening,
I love it.
I'm on a winning streak. So here we are. I now have proof that quantum physics is real. Law of attraction is real. I'm in the commercial with LeBron and Serena. It's all real. And I thought back to when JB told me about the futuring. And it was like, wow, I was feeling those feelings. Like if you want a little advice on how to future, this is a little tip. Like you might want to have a dream of becoming a big Grammy-winning artist.
Right.
Well, thinking of winning a Grammy is one thing. There's a little bit of emotion to it. But thinking about, hugging your mom when you get off the stage and saying, Ma, I told you it was going to be all right. Now we just felt something. I even just felt it, and that's not even my dream. I don't even want to win a Grammy, and I just got chills thinking about hugging my mom and telling her, I told you we were going to do it, and everything's going to be all right. So think of those feelings of calling your mom or calling your dad or hugging your mom, or just what it feels like to open the bank account and literally look at the numbers. Like I can see it right now, and I can feel it. And a lot of people say, well, if I see it, then I'll believe it. Well, you can see it. Close your eyes and imagine it. You don't need to physically see it. You can literally see it right now. Like, I even though I have these like accolades and stuff, like people for a long time would not book me to speak, and that's how I was going to make my money. That's going to be my business. And I'll send out emails and all this stuff. And when I met JB the Wizard, he was like, Charlie, I'm going to help you with your speeches, but I need you to future. And so I made the song, and I talked about what it feels like to be on the tour and to be in a city and to watch people being affected. And I would listen to this song 9 times a day. Next thing you know, like within a month, I had 15 shows booked, and I'm touring all over the place like that. Like there was deposits coming in. Now I'm at 30,000 a show. Like I'm making more than some of my artists I managed to make. And it's like all this happened so quick once I tuned to the frequency. I tuned to the station because it had been so hard for so long that I was always thinking to myself, wow, every email I'm sending, I'm like, man, this is really hard. This is really hard to where I'm not even taking. It will be hard. Exactly. I wasn't even taking my own advice.
Right.
And I'm human too.
It happens to me. It happens to me. With using this platform, it happens to me, and that's the number one thing that's just I try to relay week in and week out. Whoever's here, it's just like understanding that. You know what I mean? Once you can kind of isolate the reality of your situation, like the way you put it earlier was really cool. You said time hasn't caught up yet. I think it's an unbelievable way of looking at it. And it's a blanket statement for whatever you're going through in your life. Yeah. So many DMs daily. Literally, before someone came here in the shower, I responded to some kid. He's like, dude, I'm in a rut, man. I'm my girlfriend left me. I'm just like, I feel like my days run into each other. I got you know what I mean? And I'm like, bro, reading the first paragraph of your thing, that's where your problem starts and ends. Yeah. Because you're not like you saying you're in a rut to yourself, and you saying that it's too hard to get through your days. It's affirming that.
For that guy, let me tell you a secret, and this goes back to Post Malone. Post Malone will not be Post Malone if there wasn't a human being. Check this out. This story is crazy. So there's a human being that you probably know. His girlfriend left him a week before he discovered Post Malone. So, JB?
Yeah.
All right, so JB's girlfriend left him. If she didn't leave him, he had to move out of the house, and he went to some random place.
Rex's crib.
Yeah, and Post Malone walks in the front door. JB introduces Post to Marcus, the homeless guy sleeping on the couch. Since he was introduced to Marcus, Marcus was able to help him. Boom, Post Malone exists, all because of a girlfriend leaving JB. Okay, so check this out. Your girlfriend leaves you. Look for the gifts. Bro. Something big's about to happen.
I've been preaching it. That's what happened to me. I mean, I had a very public relationship with a girl of mine. We were dated for 4 years. It was really it was the only time I was in a real, like, actually in love with somebody. You know what I mean? And going through that pushed me down this entire avenue of trying to understand life on a bigger. I was living very much so, and just like looking in hindsight, just very much so in my own little bubble of this song, put it out in this show, and like all this, you know what I mean? Where I without that hardship and feeling the way I felt, it put me down a path where I'm like so much more exponentially happier day in and day out, because I went down a path of trying to, hey, who am I really as a person?
Yeah.
What do I need to improve on? And how can I improve my day-to-day experience on Earth? You know, and put me down this whole path where I never really, I don't know if I ever would have fucking went down it. And I'm so thankful. And that's what I've been preaching this whole time through this podcast. So it's spot on. Let's take a pee break and then we'll keep rocking.
We'll be right back with You Never Know, You Know What I Mean, right after this urination break.
We're alive! And out of control! We're alive and out of control! Let's get out of control!
Left off on...
We're back from the pee break. So I don't want to rush by. I just want you to finish. So you talked about, you made that song, right?
Oh, yeah.
What I showed my boy that because I was on your Instagram, kind of just looking through.
Yeah.
When did you do that? How long ago?
This was October.
Of this year?
Yep, last year.
And you listen every day still?
No, I need to. See, like, I still, like, fall out of my own habits.
Right.
Like, I swear, guys, like, I'm human. Like,
that's why I wanted to ask, because
like,
I do, like, I know how much meditation works for me, and I know I feel the impact, and I feel the journaling impact. But I'll go 5-6 days and not do it. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing?
Man,
you know
I haven't meditated. I know the power of all this stuff, and I still, like, for the past, because I got this, like, big, like, Quantopia event coming up, and I've just been like in grind mode, and like I talked with a friend of mine. I was like I've lost the magic because I'm in grind mode. Like, I gotta make sure I learn how to do both.
I was just gonna say you were saying how you don't want to grind. Exactly.
So it's like I gotta remind myself, and even doing these interviews help remind me, because I will forget. We all forget.
That's
like,
cool.
Like, I think, like, everybody listening, y'all hear all these, like, super motivated people. Like, like, if you could see behind the curtain,
right,
you would see that they got problems too.
Right.
Like, just like me, I'll just be honest about it. Like,
Right.
I forget, I have bad days, I get depressed, I freak out, I have anxiety over stuff. Like, my friends got to talk me out of it. Like, nah, it's all going to be, remember, it's going to be easy, Charlie.
Yeah.
They like, no, like, it's going to be easy. And I'm like, you're right. But, like, don't be insecure about yourself when you see somebody who seems to have it all figured out, because, to be honest, we don't.
Yeah.
We have success, but that doesn't mean we're waking up every day and we're all perfect and stuff. So
for somebody who's had so much proof in the concept, and to still experience that, should be what's the word, welcoming for those listening, being like, yo, I got no idea, like, I feel so far disconnected from what they're talking about, or I'm not at no point in my life, really, in my day to day, am I, using any of this or incorporating any of this. It just goes to show, you know what I mean? Like, even for people with proof of it, like personal proof in your heart, in your heart of hearts, and so do I. All the magic that's in the air, and the importance of frequency. But it's part of being. There's no human being. I saw a really cool interview. It was Anderson Cooper and God damn it, I'm gonna forget the other guy. But he was talking about being alive, right? There's no one who's ever lived who hasn't suffered. Being alive, if you're gonna be grateful for life and being alive, you have to be grateful for all aspects of it. It kind of goes into your slingshot terminology. Like, you can't pick and choose what you're grateful for. If you're grateful for being alive, guess what? Suffering and having bad days is part of being alive.
that's right.
And once you can accept that, it's easier to navigate through those turbulent waters and actually look at the way, you know, you've put it in a few ways I haven't heard it, but just understanding that it's part of your trajectory upwards.
Thank you, man.
Facts. What we were just talking out there a little bit, your law of 62, I wanted you to touch on it. What you got to walk me through it.
All right, so remember how I was talking about like all rockets start off slow?
Mm-hmm.
I discovered something around the time I did my Ironman.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to do with rockets. And it has to do with outer space. And that first mile being the hardest, and that 60-second mile being the easiest. Because once you hit outer space, there's no more gravity.
Right.
I looked at my Strava app as I was doing, this was a week before my Ironman, and I was curious how many training sessions of biking and running I did to be able to accomplish this Ironman. Both were 62. And I'm like, that's interesting. 62, that's how many miles it is to outer space. So then I went back and I wanted to count how many songs we released with Travis Porter before our first hit record. 62. So then I wanted to ask, well, how many did we release with 2 Chainz before his first big hit record? Because with Travis Porter, I mean, we were putting out music. Like, it was, I remember our first mixtape, January 1st, 2009. Boom, mixtape. Came back March 1st, 2009, mixtape. Then April 1st, 2009, mixtape. Then August 1st, 2009, mixtape. Then October 31st, 2009, mixtape. We had a top 20 record in the country by November. So I was like, 62 records? Like, is this a universal law? But that gives me so much peace in my heart. If I'm a content creator, if I'm an artist, or if I'm like, how can I go do 62 of them? Training sessions for an Ironman. Like, yeah, I came in second to last place in the Ironman, but you know what? I did it. And it took 16 hours and 41 minutes, and it took me 62 training sessions, which I'm proud of. And with Travis Porter and 2 Chainz, 62. So I was like, well, how many songs did Drake release before his first massive hit? It was around that number. Then I went and counted Russ. It was around that number. But with a rocket, it's like, when it starts, you can't stop. You got to keep pushing. So it's that consistency of putting out. So here you got 2020.
Crazy.
Bro, like, it's not that far to outer space, brother. It's just not that far.
It's not.
So when you're at song 41, you don't even have to be afraid.
I'm going to look, after we leave, I'm going to look back at I want to say it's going to be right around 60 or 70 probably.
Just imagine what this podcast will be at episode 62 of doing it every week. You know?
Yeah.
You take a month off, it's going to affect the trajectory.
Facts.
But every week, watch what happens around 62.
Our next album is called Keep Going. It's tatted here, but
Keep going.
That's like our whole branding and thing.
When did you start that?
I started branding it about, I was sitting up here. Was I up here? Yeah, I was sitting up here. And I always, my albums always have like, there's a message in the undertone most of the time. So I had Closer, which was like, the idea was like, you're never gonna fully achieve your goals, right? You're gonna, as you get there, you know what I mean? Like a
little bit more.
You're gonna feel like you're closer and closer. But when you're there, by the time you get there, those goals have evolved as well. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, your life's a perfect example where you get, or if I had a Grammy, you know, we got a Grammy, man, fuck. You know, like I'm working with 2 Chainz, you know, but then when you get there, by the time you get there, like you've made this progress and you can acknowledge that progress, but it's never gonna feel like you like, that's it. You know what I mean? So that was kind of the concept of that. And then these days are the glory days, and understanding that you create your future in the now. And then this Keep Going was like an awakening for me. I remember when I thought of it, I was just like, oh, this fits right in with the trajectory of what I've been trying to say. And Keep Going. It probably started about 1.5 years ago. I got the trademark. We do a lot of clothing.
Good,
I do well with clothing to my fans, and then that's
you know, it's crazy. Like I Like I always say to my friends, like when they're doing good, like just keep going.
Keep
like
going, bro.
and I do this thing. I treat it like it's a football field, and it's like I'm stepping back to pass, and they're like running. I'm just like, nah, just keep going.
Go long.
Like just go, like run into the stands. Actually run out of the. Just keep going.
Right.
And that's always fun to practice that.
I had I was real, like I told you, I try to go out of my way every day to answer at least like 5 to 10. You know, it's my way of giving.
Yeah.
And I found myself writing "Keep Going" like to so many people.
Yeah.
And that was kind of part of that. Like I was like,
You know what?
course,
What
yeah.
you're doing is really, really, really powerful. And I have this concept that helps me so much in life achieve my success. And it's through this giving love that you do. Can
Yeah.
I break it down for you?
Yeah.
It's actually an infinity loop. Can I use the whiteboard real
For
quick?
sure.
All right. Can we flip a camera?
Yeah.
By any chance?
Maybe that one.
All right.
Go ahead on that.
All right. I'm not going to take up much space. All right. So this is a concept, a cheat code that I have in life, and it's an infinity loop. And this is actually how I try to start my day, and what keeps me going to achieve success. Now, it's a 4-step system. As I'm playing the guitar, it's a 4-step system, and it repeats because it's an infinity loop. Okay. And the first step is knowing you're protected. Okay? Because when you know you're protected, like even if something's bad is happening,
Yep.
you know it's for a good reason. You know the universe or God's got me. Something's bad happening, I know I'm protected. That's the frequency we're tuned to. And when you feel protected, it allows you to give love. Because it's hard to give love if you're in fight or flight.
Right.
If you're in survival mode, it's impossible to give love to people. So knowing you're protected is the first step. The second step is actually giving love. And this is what starts the process of blessings. When you give love, immediately, very fast, you start receiving blessings. And when you receive blessings, it is our duty to give blessings, which is the last one. Give blessings. And when you give blessings, see, love is free to give. That's why we could start with that. It costs nothing to send somebody some good love. But when you receive blessings, it's important to go give blessings. And when you give blessings, you start receiving even more protection. And when you receive more protection because you gave so many blessings, then you can give more love. When you give more love, you receive more blessings. When you receive more blessings, you give more blessings. And when you give more blessings, you receive even more protection. And it just feeds its way all the way up to the most successful place in the world.
I love it.
So that is, and I got a little gift for you.
Yeah.
This is
You sit there. I'll sit here for the end.
this is got this breakdown.
That was dope.
Thank you, brother. Let me put your pen back. So I created this world called Quantopia. It's
I've seen you talking about it a little bit. I was just gonna ask you.
It's a secret world where I teach all this stuff. It's a community. It's of invisible influence. It's like a secret society of people like us who believe in this magical quantum manifestation, entrepreneurial, artistic, creative visionaries.
Right.
And it's built completely against the algorithm. Like it's all hidden behind a secret phone number.
Cool.
Like you can't, I've never even put the phone number on my Instagram page. And this secret society has grown bigger than, like it's crazy.
Fire.
But I want to give you something. Let me show you this. This has the breakdown of what I was talking with this infinity loop.
Okay.
But this is a very rare Quantopia coin. The currency of Quantopia, and on the back is
That loop.
know you're protected, give love, receive blessings, give blessings. And I wanted to give you this, man.
I feel blessed.
You are a quantum citizen.
Thank
now,
you.
my
I'm gonna
brother.
keep this right here, my station right here where I work. Thank you, bro.
Absolutely,
Much
man.
love. I appreciate you, bro. I read a book. Everyone's gonna laugh. I talk about this book all the time. Have you read The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success?
I have not.
I think you should. It will take you like an hour.
Okay.
You know, it's a short read, and then you know one of the main laws is the law of giving. It's the second law, and it's just it was one of the first. This was one of the first books when I told you I had the hardship of like going through a breakup and then kind of looking myself in the mirror and like. I don't really know who I am or like what I really care about, you know, and like how am I really operating, you know? And this shaped the way I saw things in a whole new way. And the law of giving was one of the first ones. I was like, I don't go through the day looking to give and get. Like I caught myself always, you know, again, always being a nice person and not hurting or harming anyone, but like it was about me. It's about me. Like, what am I doing? What am I going to get? What do I got to work on? What's happening? Who's paying attention? Me, you know? And that was a huge thing. And it basically, exactly that infinity loop, it's exactly, so it's actually, it's crazy you haven't read that because it's like, it's exactly how they put it. If you don't give, you'll never get, you know what I mean? And it's one of those things where as soon as I started doing it and practicing it, even just with my thoughts, seeing a homeless guy and being like, just sending him my love. Like, I feel like, you know, hoping he's happy, hoping he can be okay. Like that type of feeling, I started feeling way better about. You start feeling like my energy, my life energy was rising and rising and rising.
You're using a lot of words like feelings and energy and like all that. For some reason resonates with us. Like when we talk about these things, but even if we use the word resonate, like we say resonate like understand, but resonate really has a definition of like frequencies and sounds. That's why we use it. That's why we say it's a vibe.
Right.
Like these
Vibration,
are all,
baby.
like it's all vibrations. That we're talking about quantum physics here when we're talking about energy, vibes, frequency, resonate. We're talking about understanding. We're talking about, oh, that feels right.
I saw something really fucking cool right before you got here, actually. And I'll just show you this.
Yeah.
You'll know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
But I'd like you to say that. I feel like that's like a cool thing to kind of end on. I think we could leave it with.
All right. So this is Charlie Wisdom. Like there's different Charlies, right? So
I know, I can see.
CEO Charlie's gonna like break down how to become like entrepreneurial, marketing, change the game. Charlie Rock is like manifestation and dreams and inner child and like this infinity loop. This is Charlie Wisdom. This paradigm shift that we're about to talk about, this is Charlie Wisdom. So this hit me, like I feel like I channeled like this knowledge, but I looked at like how culture is today. And we live in a very influencer time. And this term influencer is new. Like this is a new thing in the history of the world. Like this term was not talked about until really Instagram.
Right.
Instagram is very visually stimulating. And now we've got algorithms and artificial intelligence and these things. And I'm looking at culture and how it's operating today. And it's operating a lot like a pyramid. Okay? With the celebrity or the influencer on top and everybody else looking up at them. And very few people are close to the influencer, but a lot of people are down here looking at them. And I said to myself, something just doesn't feel right about this. This is the business I've been in my whole life. But then I'm looking at the most influential people in the history of the world operate by the exact opposite paradigm, where they're the least most important person and they're building other people up and letting them become leaders of their movement, and it's changing lives. So then they pass it on to somebody else. Now, I'll give you an example. Who started like veganism or who started stoicism? These are isms. Well, whoever started stoicism is the least most important person. Like they're up in heaven looking down like, oh, it's still going. Somebody wrote another book, you know, or veganism. Like we're talking about veganism here.
Right.
Who started it? I don't know. Nobody knows. That person ain't important. That person's at the bottom, but it empowered, and they might be 8,000 years ago. They're in heaven. Like, yeah, still going. There's somebody did another podcast about it.
Yeah.
Like, but those are the things I'm fascinated by is how can we make something bigger than us, and not bigger than us in the fact that it's like a brand, but more it's an ism. Because if something is an ism, now we're talking about folks like, Jesus. Now we're talking about folks like Buddha. Now we're talking about but there's other type of isms too, simple things like AA, for example.
I was gonna say alcohol. I follow Russell Brand, and he talks about this a lot. Alcoholics Anonymous changed his life, and just the idea that it's anonymous.
Yeah.
The idea that it's not about somebody or some person with their, what I mean? It's about the group and the culture and how we can.
It's not these people coming to watch a pastor preach.
Right.
It's the people who are attending and running it themselves are more important than the person who started AA. And it can go on thousands of different chapters and change people's lives, and whoever started it is going to die one day, and guess what? The ism still goes. And that's what I'm fascinated by is these isms, and that's why I created things like Quantopia. How could this it doesn't even need to involve me.
When you explained it, that's what kind of reminded me to bring that up, because I saw your post about it. It's really cool.
And the most important thing with the upside down pyramid, when you add love to it, it changes everything. And this is another thing. So if you look on the coin, pull up the coin, what do you see on the front? You see
the upside down pyramid.
Bingo. Now check this out. What did we talk about earlier in this podcast? We talked about a word called abracadabra. Now, everybody, we've all heard this word abracadabra before, right? It's usually associated with magic. Now, I'm going to pull it. Can you hand me my phone real quick? I'm going to show you what Google Images thinks of this word. You would think if we were to do a Google image search, we would pull up a whole bunch of magic tricks.
Yep.
I'm going to show you what Google Images actually shows you. We're going to type in abracadabra. Abracadabra, as I spelled it all wrong. And I'm going to show you what Google Images will show you. What do you see?
Upside down pyramid, baby.
This is manifestation. This is the symbol of manifestation.
Wow.
Abracadabra is, for some reason, I can't make any sense of it. Nobody can explain to me why abracadabra is always in an upside down triangle, but that's just how the pieces of this puzzle start falling together. You're not seeing many magic tricks. All you see is upside down triangles.
Crazy.
And this means as I speak, I create. There's something bigger going on out here, man.
Yeah.
This upside down triangle is powerful.
Really dope. Really dope. Where can people learn about, how did you learn about quantum physics the way you did? How long did it take, and were there certain literature that made it easy for you?
Bro, I was lucky, bro. A quantum physicist, Morpheus, walked into my life. I call him Morpheus. His name is Mr. Collier.
Right.
He taught me everything. But there's some cool documentaries, and I teach. My goal is to be able to teach people in a very simple way.
Right.
I want to boil it down, because if you start studying quantum physics, it can get extreme.
That's why I asked, though. There's a lack of. It feels like such a high wall to climb. For
so I never put the number for Quantopia out on my Instagram, and we're in the very deep end of this podcast. We're almost approaching 2 hours. I'll give the number here.
Fire.
But guys watching, whatever you do, please do not post this number publicly. It's my goal to protect Quantopia. Quantopia is like an invisible influence, of good. It's like a secret society. So I'll give you the number. Text it. It's going to take you to some crazy website about hot tub time machines. You're going to have to find some secret place to put. You got to find where to put the password. When you text it, it'll give you the password. It'll walk you through it. It's a digital speakeasy, but the phone number is 404-800-1073. But like I said, just treat it with care, and you can give it to your friends, but just don't post it.
Amazing. Thank you, bro.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming and doing this. Again, I literally 3 weeks ago stumbled upon some of your stuff and was captivated by it. I'm one of the dudes who I talk about a lot on this. For people who are trying to change their lives, you have to change your input. You have to, if you want to get good at baseball, you got to go to the batting cage every day and hit, So when you wake up and you're looking at so and so, the Instagram model, you doing this, and dudes in the club and doing that. That's going to create anxiety over time. That's going to create that. There's going to be a lack of, if you're trying to make changes and improvements in your life, you have to change what you're feeding yourself.
And remember, quantum physics is always working.
Right, exactly. So whatever the fuck, like I stopped watching, if movies have violence and like very dark undertones.
Me too.
I stopped watching them. Because, and like, yeah, I might miss out on some good movies, but I'm not risking the state of like where I am as far,
right,
you know, and because I've felt such a difference since I've changed my input.
100%.
So for those, I mean, this Quantopia thing sounds like a really cool thing, and a place that can be that, you know, but even just start changing who you follow. Go follow this guy. It's at Charlie, right?
At Charlie, yeah.
Great Instagram handle. How'd you get that?
It was very quantum how it happened. Want me to tell you a quick little story?
I do.
So this is one of the craziest. So like I had a dream. All my friends and family, like they get mad at me when I talk about this, but I had a dream that I'm gonna be the president one day, and it was 2042. And I'm like, I didn't choose this, but I literally saw it. I saw the yard sign, and the yard sign was like first name basis. It was like Charlie for president. And I called my boy Scott, and I was like, yeah, man, I want to be first name basis like Oprah. I want to be the Charlie of the world. And I'm just talking abracadabra style about the things that I want in life. And a week later, a lady who works at Instagram DMs me. And she said, oh my God, your story is so inspiring. I want to like chase my dreams like how you are. And I'm an employee here at Instagram, and I'm not really allowed to do this, but I have a gift for you. And I said, what's the gift? She said, I want to give you this name that has just been dormant. Like Instagram didn't allow anybody to have it. Not Charlie Puth, not Charlie Sheen. They didn't let anybody have it. She said, I want to give this to you. And she just gave it to me.
Wow.
And I called my friend back and I said, that first name thing might be real.
Hey, you're talking to someone who's going there. I told you I'm from Mike Stud to Mike.
Yeah, so man.
I'm on the same wave, baby.
Come on, man. It's time.
I love it, man. Thank you. Everyone go, if you've, listened, you're probably already going to go follow him, but go follow him. Instagram is your main hub, you'd say?
Quantopia is the main hub.
Quantopia, okay.
I'm starting to get a little pissed with Instagram and the algorithm that I'm more into like the real connection.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. We'll go, at least go follow him on Instagram, get involved. He gave you the number. But, man, thank you so much. Absolutely. I learned a lot. I feel inspired. Keep doing what you're doing, bro. It's
Appreciate
amazing.
it. You too.
Cheers, sir.
My man.
All right. Nailed it.